As soon as we are live, we get started. Some notification. All right, we are on YouTube now, and I can see myself on YouTube. So we are good to start today's session, and I hope you all are ready. You all are ready. Ready, ready. Okay, so just before we start, I want to reiterate what I said earlier, that the essence of having a live stream and doing it with you, I mean, a live audience, is for you to be able to ask questions, stop us, like get to understand the things that we are doing. It's not just for you to watch. Otherwise, I would have just pre-recorded myself doing it and publish it for you to go and watch. So for taking out the time and being out here while we do it, the benefit you get is you get to interact, you get to learn from the session, like as much as you can. And also, I also get to learn from you guys. So I want you to be able to contribute. I don't know it all. I'm still learning, and every single day I love learning. Like I try my best. And it's good when you learn with a group. So I'm happy to have you all on the stream so that we are going to learn together. Tu comprends? Are there any French people in the group? So today, our goal is to build a real life project. And what I mean by that is we're going to start from probably not the first stage. The first stage would have been ideally the problem identification stage, right? But that is not where we are going to start because I sort of have an idea what I want us to do, problem identification, but then I haven't done the brainstorming about the problem and all the things that goes into it. At least to an extent, I've thought about it from the time that I said, okay, maybe we are going to build this thing. I've thought about it, but not as extensive as I should before I code it. And I've not set anything up. We're going to do everything from ground up. So we identify the problem, we brainstorm how we want to solve that problem and how we are going to build it, the tech stack we're going to use. And trust me, the reason we are going to use the specific tech stack we're going to use is because that's what I'm currently trying to get better at, and I'm using for almost all my projects. So feel free to, if you want to implement something on your own, feel free to use different tech stack or play around with some of these tools. Also, if you are totally new to this tech stack, feel free to learn it or not. But at the end of the day, the goal is not even the syntax, but the goal is the understanding, the process, what the mindset behind it, right? How you settle on these things, how you make decisions. That's what is most important. The problem solving skills. We'll run into problems. How do we fix it? How do you think through the problem to even find a solution to it? That is the most important thing that you can take away from this stream. So if it is a little above your head or it is too small for you, I mean, please bear with us and try and get something at least from the session. I know that you would if you pay attention. Okay, so the problem that we're going to try solve, and I would want to hear your take on it if you can share, is I know there are certain institutions, and this one we are looking at small and medium scale enterprises, right? Like they're very small companies and not too big. Some of these companies, like the shopping malls and other organizations, have some sort of shift system where some workers will come to work, say from morning to maybe afternoon. So we have morning shift, we have afternoon shift, we have evening shift. And the problem I'm identifying is actually part of a bigger project that we're working on, and we are going to uh, code that in there. But we've not gotten there yet, and I've not done that yet. So I'm going to start something here as a solo project on using AI to assist us build it. Then it would actually help me go build that one. Okay. So that is a disclaimer I have to make. But at least I would also learn how to do it so that it becomes easy for me to move the idea into the bigger one. So as I was saying, we have these entities that usually have employees that work on schedules, or they have different shifts for employees, and it's a bottleneck for managers to run these scheduling, because sometimes some employees want to swap schedules with others, or they want to swap shifts with others. And so essentially what we're going to do is to build some sort of a staff scheduling application, and this staff scheduling application, and that's when we have to start brainstorming about it. So we have an idea, or there is a problem, and we know that we're going to build a solution to it. But how do we approach the solution? How exactly is this solution going to work? So we need to figure that out. And once we are done with that, that's when we can start thinking about the code part. Is there any of you here that works in a company that that's this kind of shift system that you have to go? I know nurses, pharmacists, like the hospital workers, largely we do that. But is there anyone on the call that is involved in a company like that where you go to work on shift basis? Or sometimes it's just, oh, my monthly shift, then I'll change from morning to afternoon, something like that. Is there anyone here? No one? Or you all work what, 8 to 5? Yes, yes. So if you are not working, is there anyone here that has experienced that kind of system before, or knows people who work those schedules before? Like that system. Please, let's be as interactive as possible. Otherwise, we just stop discussing and we go to the code alone. Yes, yes. Anyone familiar with that system? Or that's something that is totally unique to me?
I'm familiar with it. I've worked under such an institution before.
Oh,
It
okay.
was it was during 2020 when the COVID was
Oh, okay.
like really
Oh,
that's
okay.
we're working at the airport where
Mm,
we're working in a shift system. Like it was like 6, 7 hour shift system.
okay.
So
Okay.
when you come from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and afternoon people will come from like 12 to 5. Then the
Mm,
night people come from like 6 p.m. to midnight,
okay.
like that.
And how is that being coordinated?
Yeah, it was manual. It was
Mm,
very manual. We're using
mm,
printed sheets, like notices were printed out,
okay.
and then
Okay.
yeah, some
Yeah.
even went ahead to like send the document via WhatsApp and stuff. So you
Mm,
get to
mm,
see what time you are supposed to go to work and which
okay.
group you are even in and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, now that
So
you're saying it, it's reminding me of, I think that was mine was in 2021. Yeah, working in the hospital as well. We had the duty roster was pasted in the pharmacy. So when you go there, you go and check what which pharmacy you're working in and from what time you're working in. Yeah.
yeah.
So instead of us doing that manual thing, we want to digitalize it, but then also we want to make it more efficient, and we want to allow the staff to be able to swap their shift as well. Right. So that's the end goal. We don't know how far we can go, but let's see. So our goal is to build a staff scheduling platform. Let's call it that. This should have different shifts. Okay, so for shifts, we can have, say, morning, afternoon, and evening. Then staff members obviously will be assigned to shifts. So staff will be assigned to specific shifts over a period of time. And the reason I'm saying this is because that's what I'm used to, but we can always think through it. There are some shift systems that are assigned on weekly basis. There are others that are assigned on monthly basis. So we need to see which of these we are going to go with. But yeah, if we choose to do it a specific period. That means we can set, if it is weekly, we set that, yes, this shift system is for every week. We probably will update it or not. If it is monthly, then we set it as such. Then the last thing that I'm really interested in is the ability to swap shifts because I've talked to a couple of people who work in this sort of shift system, and there are times that, hey, I have a shift this morning, but then I can't make it because something came up. However, there's a colleague of mine that I know who isn't going to be working today, so I can talk to them so that they do my shift for me. Then some other time that they have their shift, I would also do their shift for them. So we want to consider shift swapping between staff. But one of the important things that I also noted is that this shift swapping thing can become a bit messy if not overseen by the manager or whoever is overseeing them. So I feel that we should implement it like that if you request a shift swap, you request it directly to your colleague. Then if when that person accepts it, the final decision will have to be made by your manager. The manager will have to approve it. Once they approve it, then the shift will be swapped. Okay. So, but guys, I said you're on the call for this reason. So be able to ask questions, communicate back, like make suggestions. Let us refine. This is the brainstorming part that we are doing. But now I am saying these things based on my experiences and what I've thought about, right? So you should also be able to chime in and tell me what you think. Let's see, what did I say? Shift swapping when swapping a shift, the staff makes a request to another staff who isn't on duty. So you can't swap the same shift with someone else who is on duty with you. Assuming two of us are working on the same day, the same time, on the same shift, and you want to swap, you can't swap with me because I'm going to be working, right? You have to swap with someone who is not working. Then we say, so who isn't on duty, and that person needs to accept, they need to accept the swap. Finally, the manager needs to approve the swap for it to take place. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing some comments. This shifts annual leave, yeah. So we can also incorporate the leave system such that some workers can be on leave and staff leave management. Okay. What else? Shift members goes on time off or a specific day, time off. So we have leave and time off. Okay. So that should also be considered. What else? What else should be considered if we are building a shift system? Yes.
Um, some institutions, the staff are grouped. So let's say group A, group B, group C, group D. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe group A is coming from morning,
Okay.
Then group B will come into Group in the afternoon, then group C
Wow.
maybe the evening, then group D night.
Wow.
They will
So
do the galamsey for them.
grouping of grouping of staff to facilitate easy staff scheduling. So if when we are creating the schedule, if we set group A for say morning shift for the next 1 month, then it means every staff that belongs to group A will be on morning shifts. If that's how I understood what you said, is that it?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Yeah, I like this idea as well. Deadlines or window periods for swap requests. So swap request dead. No, I think I like the window period. No, so wait, I think deadlines makes more sense. When we say window period, what will it even be referring to? Like the period within which you can make a swap. But then we are looking at if you made a request for a swap after a certain time, if it has not been approved, then automatically that swap is cancelled. That's how I'm understanding it, right? So that should be more deadline or expiry. Expiry, right? Jibril, I hope that's what you meant. Are we good to go? So we can get started with these ideas. All right, great. That's what you meant. That's good. So we can get started with these ideas. Now we have a problem that we've identified. We want to digitalize staff scheduling that people do manually, and it takes them a lot of time. And we are brainstorming what the features of this application should be like, right? And now from brainstorming it, we are going to have to go into design. Then from design, we'll go into the actual coding, then evaluating and testing and monitoring all of those things, right? Time at which staff report and leave. That's also very important. In fact, with the application that the one that we are working on that I'm thinking about, it's one of the key things that we're going to look into. So staff reporting time and leaving time, like to track their attendance, sort of, right? So we can add it anyway. We don't have to have all the features built into our MVP, but it's very important. Staff, okay, let's say tracking staff attendance. Right. Um, this is good to start with, but then we need to really think through it, how we're going to implement it. And from this time on, we can start using the AI tools to assist us in making the decisions. Okay. Any questions from any one of you? Any questions? Those of you watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, you can equally drop it in the chat and I'll respond to it. Yes, yes. Any questions? No questions. Okay. Let's keep going. So we have this idea that we want to implement. Okay. Ideally, I can just copy it and go to the AI tool to start, even with the brainstorming, to further brainstorm it because we want to build this solution. But the thing is that there should be a scope because this can become a very complex project. Our goal now is to build the minimum viable product. And those of you who have not heard it before, that is the MVP. Recently, my younger brother sent me something where somebody went for, I don't know if it was a competition or a pitch, anything like that. And they asked him, like, what are you? And said he's a software developer or something. And they said, so if you were to build an MVP, how long will it take you to build it? And the guy actually didn't know what MVP was. So even the pronunciation, the word, the letters MVP, he couldn't say it because he probably didn't even hear what they said. Then they asked him if he knew what it was, and he said yes. And it turns out he didn't know. I mean, it was very funny when I read it. I watched the video, and he didn't get the investment because he didn't know MVP. So yes, this I may assume that it is too simple and everybody here knows it, but hey, I've learned not to make such assumptions. So if you don't know it, you are here for good. You learn it. Minimum viable product. What this means is that this product that we want to build, what is the basic form of it that is usable, okay, and solves the problem. So we can have all fancy features of our application, but then when you are beginning with designing these platforms, the best you can do for yourself is to focus on the actual problem and the basic form of your solution that solves the problem. So the key problem here is being able to digitalize staff scheduling. We have other features that we are adding that will make it nice to have. It is not a must have. So here you are going to have to differentiate your must haves from your nice to haves. Very important. And a lot of us gets, and this is myself included, when we start thinking about a product, we are thinking about all the wonderful things that we can build, right? But what you really want to do is to list your features as must have and what next to have features. Nice to have. Nice to have features. And these ones will help you focus on the must have to begin with, right? You begin with a must have, you build it out, then now you can come and add on the nice to have. So again, let's see. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you feel, especially when you know that, oh, I can do it. Like, yeah, if we add this, I can do it. We usually want to add it. But hey, let's not go that route. If you leave me, I would add everything to make this like a very robust one. But I've seen that by doing that, we end up starting a lot of projects and not finishing it. So let's focus on the must have for this platform to work. The staff scheduling. We want to be able to schedule things. As soon as that is done, we can now start thinking about, oh, what are the other features? The other challenge is that sometimes when you also just think about the must have and don't think about all the other things, right? You build an application such that it becomes so fixed, it becomes difficult to scale it and extend it to add other features. So there is a bit of a balance there that you need to achieve, because if you narrow down too much, when you want to extend the features, especially let's talk about the database structure and the code, you may have to come back and redesign the whole system. That would also be a lot of work. So even though you want to settle on the must have for your MVP, you still want to be a bit flexible and possibly have thought about the consequences of the decisions you're making right now for the MVP on every other thing that may end up coming in. Eventually, you're going to have to overhaul some feature. You're going to have to redesign some of the things. You're going to have to recreate the database structure for some of the things, right? But if you can build a system to accommodate as much extension as possible, that would really be helpful. So think of it that way whenever you build stuff. Okay. The other thing that we need to know is here we mentioned staff, we mentioned group, we mentioned manager. So it means that we have a category, or I mean, in terms of the users, we have different types of users. So you have to think of it that way. And if you have different type of users, it means that each user may have their own sort of permissions, what they can do on the system and what they cannot do. So we mentioned that the staff should be able to request a swap. For the schedule itself, for somebody to create a schedule, I don't think we would make the staff themselves create the schedule. So probably the manager is going to be the one who creates the schedule. Then once the manager has created a schedule, it goes out to all the staff. They get to see, oh, for this week, I am here. So some of the other things we can add in here is manager will be the one to create the manager to create staff schedule. Staff get to see their own schedule, right? But I think they should be able to see other schedules as well. If they want to swap, if I want to swap with you, I should know what your schedule is. Like we mentioned, there should be leave period, there should be time off. So I want to see in what state are you around the time that I want you to swap with me. So if you be on leave, will you be able to come? Yes, I mean, but if you have duty around that same time, then it doesn't make sense for me to be able to swap with you. So get to see their own schedule as well as the schedule of others. Right. And what else? What else should people be able to do? Staff, we've noted that they are able to request. Ima, please go ahead. They are able to request swap between colleagues. What else should we consider?
Yeah, I was thinking if talking about staff seeing other staff schedule, why don't you create a system where you can just make the schedule, then it pops out on at each side. So it's not like you make the request not to a particular person, but you just make the request, then it's there. So if someone wants to swap with you, you click on it, then you swap.
Yeah, so I think that's also an additional feature that we can consider because there are times that people actually have discussions among themselves, and that's where my inspiration is coming from. That mostly when people want to swap, they talk to themselves, right? They don't just even go and look at schedule. Like, oh, anyway, I know you are for morning duties usually around this time, but next week I'll not be available for my shift. Are you able to do it for me? Like cover up for me, something like that. Right. But I think it also makes sense such that instead of focusing on a single person, you can make a general swap request. Then whoever can be available will accept that. So we can consider those two, right? Allow staff to make general swap requests so that anyone available can accept the swap. Okay. Yeah, that was a really brilliant idea. Okay. Any more ideas? Any more things that we should consider? Yes, yes. All right. So let me just double check YouTube. I hope I've not left you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I've not seen this one in the list, but how about a system that records the swap?
Yeah. So for as long as we are thinking about these, we are going to have a database to back everything. Where is YouTube going to? Sorry, I just wanted to confirm that everyone on YouTube. Yeah, okay, good. So it's still running. All right. Yeah. Once we are thinking about these things, we definitely have a database to store all the data that is moving. Anytime you are thinking about building a web application or a based platform and even mobile apps, like you have to think about data storage, right? So we'll definitely integrate that. And we need to understand this whole thing for us to be able to build a database to support it. If your database doesn't support all of these things, it's going to be a problem. That's why I was talking about even when you are deciding on the must have and nice to have and letting that guide your development, you have to be a bit flexible sometimes to accommodate all the possible extensions that you're going to bring in. Okay. The next thing you would want, if you are not a developer yourself, you're not an engineer, you have like a problem that you've identified, you want to solve, you've come up with this idea. You want to build this tool with all of these features. Ideally, you would have to request the service of an engineer to do it for you or a developer to do it for you, right? One of the key things that these people or these personnel, the engineers or developers would come up with is what we call the software requirement specifications. So a document detailing everything, please. In as much as it's a live session, it's also a class. Software requirement specifications document. So if you have never heard of it, nice one, you learned something today, right? So software requirements. I hope you guys are taking notes. Last week, I asked that somebody act as the class prefect and document the thing so that we share with people who couldn't come or anything like that. I didn't get, I mean, I think I saw Bright put it in the chat, but somebody to compile it and share with us so that we share with the community. I didn't get anything like that. So, yes, self-appointed class prefect. If you want to be self-appointed class prefect, please write as much as you can and you share with the community. Thank you. Software requirements specification. So we are going to create this document. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for us to do it right now, but as I'm saying, if you are interacting with a software developer or you are a software developer and somebody has come to you, this is my problem, I want you to solve it, build a solution for me. One of the things that you really want to do is to produce this document. By going through the software requirement specification, you'll be able to think through things. What are the functional requirements? Most of these things that we are talking about are functional requirements, the various functions in the application. But then there should be non-functional requirements as well. So what are the non-functional requirements? Example, how user-friendly should this be? How scalable should it be? How do I optimize the performance? Like all of those things needs to be discussed on what kind of, I mean, internet. See, sometimes when you're building tools like this, for instance, if I'm building it in a more developed country, I know that internet speed is usually not a big problem for them. But if I'm building it for a less developed country where internet is a problem, then I need to consider all those things in my non-functional requirements. Do I use caching? Or is just without caching, is it going to be fine? Like all of these things comes in, but you only begin to think about them when you start thinking about the software requirements, specifications, or thinking about the functional requirements and the non-functional requirement. There are other types of specifications that you may want to delve into depending on who you are and what you really want. So you can talk about the business requirements. So if this is more of a business that you are trying to build it for, then what is your end goal? Think about the business requirement document or even products. Like think of it as a product and design a product requirement documentation. So one of the things that personally I like is go to the AI. You see how I was interacting with you right now to get feedback, and you have brought up suggestions that is helping us refine this into a feasible idea with robust features that will make this solution worth it. I will do same with an AI tool like ChatGPT to say, hey, this is an idea I've come up with. I want you to help me think through it. What are things that I could consider for my MVP? And what are some of the other nice to have features? And how do I even go about this? Right? You have that conversation with the AI. And it's the conversation depends on the level of expertise that you have and what you are willing to outsource to the AI. It's just like if I was talking to someone else who is going to assist me in building this, what am I willing to give them? What exactly am I looking for from them? If I have no tech experience, then it's a different conversation. Maybe I want them to help me build the whole thing. Or in this case, the first thing I want to do is to help them refine this idea so that by the time I go to write the code itself, I know exactly what I want. Okay, so let's bring up ChatGPT and say, hey, buddy, hey, buddy, I am thinking about building this solution, but currently brainstorming on it, and I need you to assist me brainstorm and come up with a viable solution to the problem. Don't mind my spelling. ChatGPT understands. Better still, let me go and clear it. Okay. Review my thoughts as documented below and make the necessary suggestions to improve it. Remember that my focus is on building the MVP for now, and all the must-have features needed for the MVP, because there are some must-haves that will not necessarily qualify for MVP. Like, yes, it's important that a platform like this should have it, but maybe we'll build it later after we have a basic functioning one, right? Let's okay. What else will I say for now? All the must have features. All right, we could just go ahead and give it what we have and hear what it has to say. So this is just like me coming to you. So can see someone is requesting to record to their computer. Okay. If it is going to your computer, I don't have a problem. But then if it's coming to my account, let's say on the cloud, that is going to be a problem because this is my student account. So you won't get access to it. And that's why I'm streaming to YouTube. You can always have access to a YouTube. But hey, if it's streaming to you are recording to your computer, I can always allow it. Oh, the prompt. I should post the prompt. I mean, this is just thinking of the flights. There's nothing. Would Zoom allow me to post this long message? Let me give it a try. Chats. This thing is blocking my view. Okay. So I'll try and post. Oh no. It's more than what Zoom allows. Let's remove some characters. Still more than that. Oh, it's way more than that. Interesting. Okay. No worries, guys. I will, if we don't send an, if you don't put an image or a PDF here, I can share the chat with you all. Don't worry, I'll find a way to get these things to you. Let's focus on the solution right now. All right. Say your list of features for the staff scheduling MVP looks solid and well targeted toward essential needs. Here are some suggestions to help refine your MVP. Shift management basis says implement a calendar-based system where the manager can drag and drop staff into shifts. This could save time, especially if the manager has a large number of staff to schedule. A rotation option could be useful if the schedule repeats. So a 2-week or 4-week rotation pattern to save the manager time on repetitive scheduling. Then shift swapping process. So you see that it has bottled up the various aspects of the ideas or the features that we had. Okay. And that is pretty cool. So the shift swapping process. For shift swap requests, consider adding notifications and messaging feature. Okay, that's good. This says integrate email or WhatsApp for simplicity in the MVP to notify both the requesting staff and the manager. Track swap requests that are pending approval and have a feature for managers to approve or decline in one click. Introduce a swap confirmation prompt for users accepting a shift so they can confirm twice before the change is sent to the manager. This can reduce accidental swaps. That's a good point. Basic leave tracking with a counter for leave days or hours remaining could streamline time off requests and approvals. Include a leave calendar view for managers so they can see at a glance who is on leave and balance that with shift scheduling. Grouping staff. If certain staff members often work together, example by role or team, grouping could involve a preferred scheduling feature where staff can mark preferences or set availability ranges, simplifying the scheduling process for managers. Swap request deadlines. Set a default expiry time for swap requests, which could be adjusted by the manager per shift. This ensures swaps aren't happening last minute, which can disrupt operations. Additionally, you might want a last call notification for shifts that are nearing the swap deadline, encouraging staff to take action on swaps in a timely manner. Then, attendance tracking. Consider integrating simple check-in, check-out functionality with geofencing if attendance verification is essential. This feature can be optional but valuable, especially if managing attendance in real time. So this is a very important point. And when the attendance comments came up, I really thought about it that, yeah, for somebody to check in and check out, how do you ensure that this person is not sitting in their room and logging into the platform and checking in? Especially if it is a web-based application that they have credentials to do that, right? Unless if you want to restrict the system, or maybe you want to make it into a desktop application and put it in the computer in the company's office for staff to come there every single day to do it, which is not like the most efficient way. So we have to find a way to guard against how you check in and check out. Like you should be in the premise when you are checking in. So I think that's what is referring to as geofencing. So we check the location of the facility, and then we check your location and we compare and say, hey, you're not around, you cannot check in, or you are not at work, you cannot check out, something like that. Says to avoid issues with missed punches, set up reminders for staff to check in or out near the start and end of their shifts. So that's also a very good point, because one of the things is that I remember when we were working in the pharmacy, I mean, in the hospital, we had this book where when you come to work, you have to go and write when you came and the time that you came. And before you leave, you have to document the time that you are leaving. But sometimes you actually forget. Like you came to work very early, but you forgot to write your name. You forgot to check in and check out when you were leaving, right? Sometimes you went the whole day, but you didn't do that. And when the manager comes around and confirms, I remember there was one community pharmacy I worked in. The manager will walk in randomly and sign off. Like let's say 10 a.m., he'll just walk in and take the attendance book and sign off. That means that every other attendance that comes beyond that time, you are late. And therefore, you are going to be penalized for it. And sometimes they end up deducting money for late attendance and things, right? But the point is, there could be a legitimate reason. Like I went to the hospital, immediately I got there, there is an emergency or they're calling me on the ward. I need to rush to the ward. I forgot to write, or I mean, check in, and I rush to the ward. I get too busy over there, forget about this thing up until when I'm ready to leave. I remember, oh no, I didn't check in. So I have to go check in. And now I have to backdate it, or I mean, is there anything like back time it? We have back dates. Is there anything like back time it? Because yes, the time the same date but different time. I need to change the time to the original one. So we have to make allowance for these things. But I think the point of prompting them, you know that the shift is coming up because you have the schedule of that particular staff. So for every staff, we give them a notification that hey, your shift is about to start if they haven't checked in yet. And let's say the shift has started, the time for the shift has started, they haven't checked in. We give them a notification that you haven't checked in. So that is a very good point. Then managers view and controls. Managers might benefit from shift templates. Okay. If the same schedule repeats periodically, this would allow them to generate schedules with minimal changes. A staff availability overview could show who has requested off, is scheduled, or is unavailable, simplifying the scheduling process. Then general shift swapping. Instead of a specific person-to-person swap, allow a broadcast style swap request for unassigned staff. If no one picks up a shift, managers can then intervene or reassign. I think that's also a solid point. I didn't think about that, but that's also a very solid point. For a truly lightweight MVP, consider prioritizing shift management, staff schedule visibility, shift swapping with manager approval, leaving more advanced attendance tracking and time off management for future iterations. Okay. So it says we should prioritize shift management. And hey, the AI is just suggesting. So it doesn't mean just because the AI said it, you have to go and do that, right? You think through it and you figure out, is that what I really want to do? Now it's suggesting that we focus on the shift management, the staff scheduling, staff schedule visibility, and shift swapping with manager approval. Then later we can look at the attendance tracking and time off management. That is perfect. So I think I would like that. So would you like to brainstorm specific tech options, or is this high level MVP outline helpful? What do you guys think? I have given my thoughts on everything ChatGPT has said, but what do you also think? Yes, yes. What do you guys think? Or I should treat you people as not being on the call so that I just keep going. I can do that as well. Is that what we want? Yes, yes.
No.
So please engage. Let's have this discussion. Any ideas or anything you would have probably done differently, or something that you want me to try?
Um, yeah, I don't know if
Okay.
this
For
this
me,
okay.
I think it's very packed, like it's very detailed.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at the end of the day, when you are using the AI tools, you almost always want to be as detailed as possible. Sorry, guys, I just want to take a screenshot and share this. Okay, screenshot taken. Yep. Next time, you should all turn on your cameras and smile so that I can take a screenshot. All right. Yeah. When you are discussing with these AI tools, you want to be as detailed as possible so that, I mean, even you as a human, before you go, like I usually have a book like this and I'll brainstorm, write things in there to flesh out the ideas. Right. So now these tools help me do it to a larger extent than what I would have even done on my own. And that's what we need to use it for. Okay. So I'd go ahead. I really wanted to dig down into it and I'll tell it the technology that I want to use. Then it will give me, let's say, the steps to go through. Then we'll now set up the project itself and start building. Okay. So let's do that. Okay. This is really good. I also think we should focus on the MVP essential features as you mentioned at the bottom. Can you do okay? So there are two things that's going through my head right now, and that's the essence of this live stream, to walk you through the thought process. Right now, I'm wondering if I should just go straight and start telling it about the tech stack we're going to use so that it gives me, let's say, the steps to follow. Obviously, if I want to build it, I can try doing it on myself, but we are using the AI to do some of these things. So that's one approach. The other approach is that these things are still high level. It doesn't correlate with the the building of the tool itself. Like I can't just look at this and know what I'm going to build, right?
Yes.
So we can make it distill it further into more details so that we know, okay, for the shift management part, what exactly are we doing there? How are we going to manage that and all? We can get into that nitty-gritties, then later go into the technology stack part. So there are either of those ways, and that can work. So which would you prefer we do? See a chat. Ooh, Erasmus. Says I'm happy you are back. I've always been around. Erasmus, welcome. It's been a while indeed. Yeah, I'm always happy to jump on calls like this. The last the last couple of months has been crazy. It's still crazy, man. Like I'm here doing live stream only because I promised that I'll be doing a live stream because I didn't sleep early. I had to wake up early. I did a meeting before this call, and hey, yeah, but we are surviving and happy to always be in the midst of the saints. Say, do not forsake the gathering of the saints. Here are the saints gathering. Okay, so let's see. Can you do a deep dive into the features to guide a developer without necessarily really mentioning tech stacks? I just want to know everything required to achieve this. Please, I can't go back and fix these typos. So let's keep going. To achieve these platforms functionalities. Okay. Um, I want it such that if I read it, I should know exactly what to do. Let's see what it says, gives to us. Detailed breakdown of each essential feature. So shift management, we should have shift types defined. So at least now it's giving us some ideas that we can consider for our database. So shift management, we are going to define common shift types like morning, evening, afternoon, evening. This should be configurable by the manager to adjust hours and details as needed. So now at least we are getting down into the breakdown of it. The scheduling interface, we should have the calendar view where it's build an interface that allows managers to see a calendar with available shifts and assigned staff. It should support drag and drop functionality to assign staff to shift easily. Bulk assignment to streamline assigning shifts for repetitive schedule. Example, weekly, monthly rotations. Add a way for managers to quickly copy schedules. Then shift constraints. Include rules for minimum or maximum hours per shift and overtime indicators. Ensure the system flags scheduling conflicts like overlapping shift or double bookings. I think now we are getting into the weeds when it comes to no, like details into the details, right? Because those are needed. Swap request initiation, allow staff to initiate a swap request for an assigned shift. This could be done by selecting a shift and choosing request swap. Okay. Give staff the option to select a specific colleague or a general broadcast covered in point 8. Yeah. Okay. Then approval workflow, request confirmation. Once a staff member initiates a swap, it should be sent to the requested colleague. And I think those of you who were here last week, there's something I talked about that I haven't really done, but then as the ChatGPT is writing it out, it's becoming clearer to me. So most of the times when you want to build something like that, you come up with the ideas we have come up with. You'd have to think about the user stories and the user flow. So the user stories is that for the various users, like we talked about the staff, we talked about the manager, and maybe different type of users that will be using the platform. What can they do? So user stories usually read something like, as a manager, I want to be able to dash. As a staff, I want to be able to dash. So if you take, let's say, this shift swapping system, the shift swapping feature, a user story there could be, as a staff, I want to be able to see my schedule and see the schedule of my my other colleagues so that I can request a swap. As a staff, I want to be able to accept a swap that I'm interested in. As a staff, I want to be like, that's how your user story is going to read. So for all the users, and you should be able to think through it perfectly. Not perfectly wasn't the right way. Should be able to think through it thoroughly and capture as much as possible. And that will give you a thorough idea of what you are working on and how you're going to handle it. And I'm glad that ChatGPT is bringing in some of these things. Then, apart from the user stories, you have the user flow. The user flow is where we usually do a workflow diagram to say, okay, from here, you go here, you go here. Yesterday, I was actually doing something like that for another project that I'm working on. So maybe I can just show you something like example workflow. Oh, not these ones. Why did I do that? Interesting. Is it this Scarlet Draw that I used? I have so many accounts now. I don't even know which is which. Okay, yeah. This wasn't yesterday's own, but this is one of the projects that we are working on. So you can see that something like this, they are saying, hey, the flow is that a user comes in, creates an account to create a project, three, this, that. And this design that you are seeing is something that I didn't sit down to even design. I made ChatGPT do it for me. So maybe I can walk you through that right now as we work on this. Okay. So yeah, obviously we'll need to read all of this, but I don't know if we'll have time to read every single thing ChatGPT writes. So I'm going to skip some steps by not reading some of them. And we just need to get something done for you to at least experience how this is used. I'll proceed to say I like this. Can we distill this into a thorough user flow to give me a visual feel of how everything will work together? So ideally, we could ask it to now give us the user stories, okay? And it would synthesize the user stories for us. But I'm jumping the user stories and I'm going to the user flow or workflow. And I want to see what it will come up with. Even though I've said I want a visual view, I don't know exactly what it's going to come up with. But when it's done, I could prompt it to give me something that looks like what I showed you. Any questions so far? You're still trying to understand the problem. At least in my training as a pharmacist, one of the things that I learned is that to be able to treat a patient, getting the history right is like 90% of the problem solved. Because if you don't understand everything that happened that led to this current state, then it's going to be a problem. You may end up fixing just a symptom and not the cause of the symptom. So it's very important always like to diagnose. I probably think that pharmacy school helped me a lot in that aspect, where I think through things as if I'm diagnosing a problem, like asking several questions, trying to dig deep into it, right? So for solving a problem like that too, we don't want to start with just thinking about a symptom and solving a symptom, right? You want to delve deep into it to really understand it and having a full picture of it, trying to appreciate it. Like if I look at this problem, I should know exactly what we are doing. Then when I get to the coding part, it becomes easier, relatively easy, not easy. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT is giving us. I could go ahead and read it, and I think I like how it is. So, shift scheduling by manager. The first part is access scheduling dashboard. So, the manager opens the scheduling dashboard, blah, blah, blah. Then, to give us the visual feel, I say, can you make a comprehensive mermaid? This is what I need you to pay attention to. Mermaid code for this workflow. So, Mermaid is a language, obviously. So it's writing the code for us. And we are going to use a Mermaid to flowcharts to now push this there. Okay. One of them that I use is that of Excalidraw. The Excalidraw has a couple of AI features. Why is this? Zoom to 10, but I don't see anything. Did it reset or okay? So it has a couple of AI tools. When you come here, you see text to diagram and you see Mermaid to Excalidraw. You also have wireframe to code. But what I'm interested in right now is this, the Mermaid to Excalidraw part. So this is a sample. They have shown you what the final output looks like. But let's paste what ChatGPT gave us. Unfortunately, there's an error. And the error is on line 32. This is the reason why it's important to learn code at least. Like you should understand some of these things, because even a language that you do not know, sometimes you still need to be able to. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh shit. That which one was 30? Okay, I think this is the problem. So feature here is a problem. Okay, anyway, this is debugging 101. All right. So that is the flow that it has generated for us. It looks very complex to begin with, but you have to tease out the flow. Sometimes you could actually ask it to give you the flow in bits and pieces. Okay. So you want to understand this whole thing and how it's going to work and all, but at least this will give you the visual feel of how that is going to happen. So if you start from here, it says manager access scheduling dashboard, they assign shift to staff, they have the bulk assignment for recurring shift, and they're able to save the schedule and notify staff. The notification, it looks a bit complex going this route. I probably would have broken it down and say, okay, for each of them, give me the workflow for it. But hey, I just wanted to show you that this is also one of the things that I do, especially when I'm struggling to really appreciate some of the things. I want the visual representation so that I can pinpoint out where there's going to be a challenge and rethink through it, brainstorm further, and fix whatever problem needs to be fixed. Okay, let's keep going. So we have this diagram. Let's give it our tech stack. And we say it should give us a detailed guide on how to approach this so that we'll start building. Okay. Thanks for that. I am looking at using Next.js. So Next.js released Next.js 15, I think 2 or 3 days ago. For that reason, now you have to even specify the version that you're going to use. When they released it, I think that was 2 days ago. I wanted to, I was starting a new project and create Nest app. I use create Nest app, and by now, if you use the latest flag, it will use Nest.js 15. So I started using Nest.js 15, and it turns out Nest.js 15 is using React 19, and React 19 is actually still experimental. So some of the packages, like I wanted to use Shad CNUI components, and it wasn't working because it doesn't work with React 19. So I had to go back. So now we are going to stick to Nest.js 14. I'm looking at using Nest.js 14 with TypeScript, TypeScript, Tailwind, CSS, Shad, CNUI components. What else? Okay, I'll use Prisma and PostgreSQL. Okay. I'm choosing this one, as I said earlier, because this is a tech stack that I'm really trying to get good at. But then also it is becoming a popular choice nowadays. I could have settled on SQLite for the database because I hate database installations and things until when it is necessary for us to do it. But there are new tools that we are discovering every now and then. So we want to play around with the tools. That's why I'm going with this tech stack. So if you're not familiar with them, it's an opportunity to learn them. But if you already know them, that's also perfectly fine. PostgreSQL. Okay, what else will I tell you? Give me a step by step guide without writing any code, how I can approach this. Assume I am an absolute newbie to coding who just learned about the existence of these technologies and give me the detailed guide to help me build the platform. Let's see what ChatGPT comes about. So usually I don't like ChatGPT spitting out the code when it is thinking in these ones because it would end up making mistakes. So if you want to use it to even write the code, make sure that you've already listed exactly what it's going to do. Like you know everything step by step because sometimes it forgets some of the things. So I prefer list everything out, then we can take them one after the other. Say, okay, the first one, how do I do it? The second one, how do I do it? The third one, how do I do it? Right. That's what is important. So here it says create your project, create a Nest.js project. Since you'll be using TypeScript, you'd want to initialize a project with TypeScript. Okay. Then folder structure. Nest.js uses a file-based routing system, meaning each file in the app directory becomes a route. Obviously, it's saying these things because I said this is my first time with these technologies. Set up Git, install Tailwind, Shad CN. Is that how Shad CN is spelled? Is that how I spelled it? Oh, is it? Oh, is it S or C? I made a mistake and ChatGPT couldn't correct it. Or I'm hallucinating right now. Shad CN, right? Yeah. Okay. Shad CN, ChatGPT couldn't correct. Is there anything like this? I'm just curious, guys. Maybe there is something else like that that I do not know. No, so I don't think there is. So it's all. How did ChatGPT miss that? Okay. Set up your database with Prisma and PostgreSQL. Initialize Prisma, define your models. So it says create models for your main entities, the user entity, shift, swap request, and leave request. Specify fields like these. Okay. Migrate your database, build core features. These are the core features. So the one thing I can do is start a project, and this is for a point where we've gotten to. Let me introduce you to some of the AI tools that we're going to use in building it. Obviously, ChatGPT will help us in brainstorming and fixing some problems. When it comes to complex code, the AI model that I prefer is Claude AI. So almost anytime I've had like a problem with my code that I'm struggling to fix, especially when ChatGPT is struggling as well with me. When ChatGPT is struggling with me, I prefer to use Claude, and most of the time that I've tried it, it will fix the problem like in one try. So I've come to learn that you see some of my queries here, but the last time I used it was 24 days ago. Interesting. And almost always it is TypeScript that is killing me. So you can see that TypeScript. It's almost always TypeScript. I don't know why we still keep suffering with TypeScript. But anyway, it's we are vouching for safety in our code. So yeah, I found this very helpful. And the free allows you to have a certain number of queries per day. So you want to use it judiciously. If you are not going to pay for the pro, you try and combine ChatGPT and that as well. That's one. Then last week I introduced you to the other Veo. So we'll be using Veo to do our designs. The interface design, we'll use Veo. Then instead of using VS Code as my preferred editor, now we are going to use Cursor AI. And I'm hoping that some of you might have heard it before. If you have not, this is a good time to start exploring it. Unfortunately, it's not free, but then the first 2 weeks that you sign up, you get the free trial with the pro versions. Like, I mean, it's not free in that the pro version that you use, all the features that you would see me using is probably not that free. Like there's limitation to how many times you can use it. But if you are just starting out a basic project, within 2 weeks, if you can build your solution within 2 weeks, please go and sign up and use all the AI features and build your solution. And if you fall in love with it, you can equally go ahead and pay for it to use it. But essentially what Cursor is VS Code with AI enabled in it. And I know there are a lot of these AI tools. Personally, I have Amazon Q developer that I use as well. Amazon Q developer. Because I prefer VS Code, I just install it in my VS Code. So you can equally do that. Find Amazon Q, download in VS Code. So there is extension for Amazon Q that you can install in your VS Code to give you code suggestions and be able to chat with your code base and all. You can use other AI tools that also help in that regards, right? But so far, the ones that I've tested, I think I love Cursor the more, even though I still have Amazon Q. I am enjoying using Cursor to solve most of the problems. Says, please, what did you say we use for the designs? Oh, the designs we are going to use vo.dev. So it's not just design, it's going to write a code. So ideally would have gone to write, design the interface and all, but we don't have that time. That's why we're doing the brainstorming so that we fully understand the problem we are trying to solve. Now, for the tools, as I said, you can equally use Amazon Q and it will help you. But I'm going to be using Cursor. I've also told you can download Cursor. And Cursor is, let me bring Cursor up. So I have it installed already. I've used it to code a couple of things, and man, this guy is good. You know, there is also an open source version of it, not like version, like I mean, a similar product that is open source. And these guys, when they started building it, they started documenting their journey. In fact, it was way before they started thinking about that product. And I've been following their journey. I really like them. And recently I tested out their tool. I think it is also cool. It's called Pair AI. Pair AI. Let me look for the guys. I want to look for the founder. I've forgotten his name. Yeah, this is the guy. That the two of them. They both have YouTube channels that they create content on. Yeah. Oh, I've not seen this recent one video that they did, but yeah. So they are now in Y Combinator. You can check out their tool, and you can also follow them if you are interested in startups. And then way before they started that, they tested other ideas. They went out to restaurants to talk to people. Like, we have this idea, we want to build it. And it gave me insight into how to approach some of these problems. Like, you need an audience to buy into it, and coming up with an idea, the right idea that will resonate with people. Sometimes we sit in our own corner and come up with ideas and build. So I like following their journey, and I recommend that any of you who is interested in building startups and stuff like that should give them a follow and follow their journey. There is, I mean, hey, you come here for one thing, but you end up getting several other things. That's how live streams here work. Okay, so you can also check out their products. It is all of these tools are just a fork of VS Code. So VS Code being open source means that people can just go and grab the whole code base for VS Code and build something into it. So you are using a new tool, but it is essentially VS Code in the background. It is VS Code that has been polished up a bit. Okay, so that's why I still love using it, because I'm so used to using VS Code. You can see Amazon Q. I've not logged in a while, but you can also see that I've worked on a couple of projects here. So let's create a new directory. If you have any questions, you can pause me and ask the questions. It's been a while since I did live streams and I'm getting exhausted so soon. I remember ALS SC days, we used to go for like 4 hours on a live stream. Let's find a good directory. Personal learning, programming, JavaScript, Next.js. Okay, so let's create one here and call it staff what? Scheduler or something like that. All right, then open this directory. Good, 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 good. We are ready to go. So we've created this, and as I said, it's just like VS Code. So anything you can do with VS Code, you can equally do here. Let me just peep through YouTube if everything is fine there. I've closed the. Yeah, but if you have any questions, please ask. Where is the. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Everything is fine there. Wow, we've done more than 1 hour and we haven't written code. Interesting. Let's hurry up. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do is to create a markdown file called todo.md. Then I'll go and grab what ChatGPT gave us so that we have reference for what we are going to be doing. Okay. So, I mean, I'm taking this approach considering that there are some people on the stream who probably have no idea how to start, right? That's why I had to let it think that I don't know any of these. So, where do I start from? And to create your projects, now we've settled on what we want to use. You can go online and find out how to create a new Next.js project. Say create Next.js project It'll take you to their documentation, then says this is a command. You run this command. But before you run this command, your system needs to be running Node.js. So you need to have Node.js running on your computer before you can use it. Right. So if you don't have it, you go ahead and install Node.js. I have it on my computer. I don't need to worry about it. This command right here is what we need to run to start a new Nest.js application. So let's go to our terminal. Then we run that command. But instead of putting the slash at latest, we are going to put at 14 because the latest will give us the version 15. And that's not what we want right now because I said it was released into production. It has been in experimental uh, for a while, but was released into production a while ago. So it's asking for my project's name. Because I want to use the same directory I am in, I'll just put a dot.
Obed,
But
sorry. Obed,
yeah,
what did you say is the editor you are using? The latest
Cursor
to
dot Cursor AI. Cursor AI.
this is Kesa, this is Casa platform.
Yeah. This is the editor itself that we are using.
Or
So it's
you
called
mentioned
Cursor.
something about view. Did you mention something about view?
No.
V something
VO. VO dot dev. That's going to be used for designing our front end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's VO dot dev. Okay. So now your project, I'm saying that I'm using a full stop because I'm using this actual name, the staff scheduler. And those of you who have done some bit of Linux will appreciate the dots. It only means that the present directory, the current folder that you are in. So use the name of that current folder as the name of my project. Invalid project name. Name can no longer contain capital letters. Interesting. I didn't know this. All right. So what we can do is to either we create a new name for it or we go to the file and try and change the name of the directory. Let's try that and see. Wow, that's strange. Learning, programming, so JavaScript, right? JavaScript, Nest.js, and says name can no longer contain capital letter. I can't do that because I've opened it here. Goodness. Okay. So now let's open this with Cursor. I think let me try something. I think I've configured Cursor to run if I Cursor dot let's see. Yeah, that worked, but it opened on my other screen. So those of you who are familiar with VS Code, we have that shortcut code dot, then it opens that directory that you are in VS Code. So Cursor allows you to also set that. You can use either code dot or Cursor dot, depending on what you set when you are installing Cursor. Okay, now we can proceed by running the command that we ran initially. And the name will be a dot. Oh, what is your name? The directory this contains files that could conflict. I don't know why nowadays these things. I didn't used to have this on like this is an issue that happened to me 2 or 3 days ago when I was testing out Next.js 15. So I thought it was a Next.js 15 thing. So I'll drop it here for now. Then it means it needs a directory that is empty. So at least we've learned something here. Dots. Okay, we want to use TypeScript. We want to use ESLint, Tailwind CSS. A lot of the developers I watch on YouTube do not like the SRC directory. I don't know why, but I personally prefer it because at least I know all the code I'm going to write are going to go into the SRC directory and leave all the configurations outside, like largely. So I prefer it. Yes, we are going to use app router. Alias will stick with it. Okay, so basically we have configured a new Next.js application. It is that simple, right? Those of you who haven't learned it before, if you, curious about it, that's how we approach it. Let's wait for it to finish installing and we run it and you see that we have a live Next.js application running right now. So that was our initial part. Says create a folder structure that has been done. Even Git has been set up, except that we don't have a remote repository connected to this. So eventually we are going to have to commit our messages, then create a remote repository and push to it. Okay, good. Just so you are aware, once you've installed this, you can look out for the commands to run this. You always find it in your package.json. So if you were doing this by not using create Nest app and you were building it manually, you would have stated what your script should be. So anything that you see here, like the script that you see here, we have delve, we have build, we have stats, we have links. You can actually add as many scripts as you want. But to run the script, you run the command npm run, then the name, the value here. So this is just a key value pair, right? So the key here is dev. So if I say dev, what I'm actually doing is I'm running this command next dev. That is run the Next.js application in development environment. So we can proceed and run that. And that should start our Next.js application on a default port 3000. And we open this. Ooh. Usually it takes some time to compile. So you can see that it's compiling here. And when you are working on dev environments, it's mostly slow. It doesn't mean how slow you are seeing it is how slow it's going to be in production. So in production, the first thing you're going to do before you push to production is you're going to build. So you're going to run npm run build and it will compile everything into a production ready website that will optimize your code to an extent, minimize some of the files as much as possible so that you can easily serve those ones and they will be relatively faster than when you are in development. Then to serve it, that's when you run next start. So when you run next start, it's going to look for the build directory. So after you run the next build, it will actually create a new directory with all the optimized code in there. Then when you run next start, but when you are running it, you run npm run start. Then it will serve those pages. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Oh, how about Claude? I didn't see the message earlier. Yeah. So the thing about Cursor, and we are going to delve into it soon. Cursor actually interfaces with the various LLMs or not. Yeah, the various LLMs. So you would see that I prefer to use Claude in Cursor. You can actually switch to GPT or any of the available LLMs when you are using Cursor. So yes, we can go back to Claude and ask it questions and all. But if I start using the AI components in here, you'd see that that's exactly what it's doing. In fact, I probably shouldn't have gone this way and make the AI do everything for us. But because some of you don't have access to this, that's why I'm going this way and also trying to explain it so that at least you learn a thing or two from it. So this is our application now running. We are going to change this, edit it into what we want, right? Let's say, where do we begin? Our to-do is no longer here, so I'll go and drop it back in there. So we have our to-do list here. We need to install shard cn. So this should be shard cn UI. We need to install that. So ideally, to go through the process, you go to Google and search for shard CN UI installation. But this time around, let me try with the AI for you to see what the AI is capable of and what not. So, okay. I just clicked on Control I. Yeah, Control I will open the specific file that you want. I think there's also Control L that will open it on this side, the chat on the side. So let's say here, just as we were chatting with ChatGPT, we could actually chat with the Cursor AI here. And you can see at the bottom, hopefully you can see this. Here, we have the different LLMs that are available. So I'm currently using the Claude 3.5 Sonnet. That's what I'm using. Oh, there's a new release. Claude 3.5 Sonnet 2024, October 22nd. That's 4 days ago. I didn't even know that. There's GPT-4o, GPT-4o Mini, O1 Mini, O1 Preview, then Cursor Small. So these are models that you have access to. In the same way, if you use Pair AI, it also allows you to add any of them. But then if you're not paying for Pair AI, but then you have access to, let's say, GPT API, let's assume you're already paying for the GPT API you're using, you could plug it in your Pair AI and use it. So Pair AI is such that you control, I mean, if you're not paying them for it, you can choose the LLM that you want to use and provide your API key and it will use it. So you only pay for how much you use. Okay. So say I want to install Shad CN into this Nest.js application. Now say, can you help me with that? Can you help me with that? So you chat with it just as you would have chatted with ChatGPT. And it says, first make sure you are in your Nest.js directory, project directory. Run the following command to add ShadCN UI to your component. So I can copy this, or if not, let me open a new terminal. Make sure we are in that directory. I can click on run over here and it tries running it for me. So yes, I want to proceed. I hope you guys saw it. I didn't copy and paste. Like initially I copied it, but I didn't paste it. I just click on run. Except that you have to, the cursor has to be where you want it to run. So yes, we want to proceed. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask me. I'm happy to stop and respond. Shad CNUI is not recognized as an internal command. That didn't work. Something missing. Let me go back to original source. Shad CNUI installation. Let's go there and see. So we choose Nest.js and okay. So this guy made a mistake. It's not ShadCN-UI. It's ShadCN Arts. So let's copy this instead. This is one big problem. We could actually debug it with it and it would eventually figure it out. But hey, let's do that ourselves now so that we hurry up. Okay, I usually like the slates. CSS variables, yes. Installing the dependencies. Okay, then what next? The ChatGPT say we should do customize this. For now, we don't necessarily have to do the set up database with Prisma and PostgreSQL. Okay, so if we want, we can actually come in here and talk to Claude. Sorry, did I say Claude? Yeah, but this cursor for it to help us do everything, right? But you have to give it a context. So let's say I do, no, let me not use, let's use I. I found that to be very helpful. That is, it writes the code itself. So this is the chat input. The control L is a chat where you interact with it, and when you accept it, that's when it will put it into your files. But when you do the control I, it actually writes the code directly in the document itself. It will create the files when it needs to. So let's say this is a plan to create a staff scheduling platform. Thoroughly review this and help us set up Prisma with the right schema for the platform. And hit enter. Let's see what magic it can do. Says I'll review the plan and help you set up Prisma with an appropriate schema for your staff scheduling platform based on the requirements outlined, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that it has actually created this here. Says to set up Prisma with this schema, install Prisma. So we would have to copy this and run it. That's only if it has not already installed it. So it has not installed it. So we are going to run that ourselves. I think Prisma may give us errors because the folder already exists. But if not, that is perfectly fine. So that's one of the things I would have done. Oh, cool. So no issues. It has created prisma.ts here. It has created schema.prisma. I haven't created any file. You guys were here with me. You bear me witness. So the AI is doing that. It says user represents both staff and managers. The role field distinguishes between them. Shift represents work shifts assigned to users. Swap request handles shift swap requests between users. Leave request manages leave requests submitted by users. Attendance tracks clock in and clock out times for users. To set up this, blah. Okay, so now we need to run this command as well. Then it says replace the content of the generated schema.prisma with, yeah, so this is what I was foreseeing, that because we already have this directory, it's going to throw errors. So what we can do to prevent that is probably rename that for now. Rename it to something else. Then initialize Prisma. This will create its own Prisma directory. Okay, so this is the new directory that command created. Okay, and by default, Prisma has this. I don't know. This looks too busy here. Okay, so this is the default one. Oh no, this is not. Is that it? Okay. So accept this. This is what by default Prisma provides, right? The clients, you have two things that you have to specify. The clients, and I've always used the Prisma client JS, but I learned there are a lot of others. Okay. And for almost all my applications, this is the client that I've used. So you don't need to worry much about it. If you are using the same tech stack, go ahead and use this client. Then the database source. So you have to tell it what type of database, because every one of them and how it behaves, right? Even though the schema you're going to write will not change depending on the database you are using, but then it needs to know which database it is so that it converts your schema into the rightful SQL code, or if you're using MongoDB, like whatever database language that you're using, it will convert it to the rightful one. So you really need that. We are saying we are going to use PostgreSQL. We need to set an environment variable with the database in it. So let's do that quickly. We create a .env. Oh, it has already created. Okay. So Prisma, sorry, this AI tool created that for us. And you can see from here, we have this. Or was it Prisma? Probably Prisma was the one that created, because this looks like coming from Prisma. Okay. But one more thing I want to do, you have to make sure you're not tracking this. By default, Nest.js does not ignore .env. It rather ignores .env.local. This is what the default ignore is forget. So you want to always come in and add the .env if you want to avoid a problem. I didn't know this when I started using SJS, and I ended up pushing my that time I think we were using OpenAI's API. I pushed the code to GitHub. After a while, OpenAI will revoke my key. I didn't understand. Like I didn't know what was going on. Why is OpenAI always revoking my key? It happened more than 5 times. It was later I realized that holy shit, like we've actually pushed the .env to, and I thought there's a git ignore here that has a lot of things in there, so I
So
thought it was
sorry.
part.
So sorry.
Anyway, yeah, it was worth it. I mean, I learned that lesson so that now when I start, I know what to do. Okay, so let's get our Postgres SQL database setup. There is a new kid on the block who is also doing magic when it comes to hosting Postgres SQL database. It's called NeonDB. So NeonDB can give us free access to Postgres SQL. Do I have an account? I should have an account, right? Shouldn't I? Shouldn't I have an account? If I don't have an account, I'll be surprised with myself. I don't. Then maybe it's a different email that I use. Okay, anyway. Um we call this what? Staff scheduler, right? Ooh, staff scheduler. Okay. Then Postgres version 16, the database name. So we may want to give it a name, probably the same name. I don't think I want to change the name. Staff scheduler here. Oh, I don't know about that. Let me check it up. How will you pronounce Koyop? Koyep or what? Anyway, it's the first time I'm seeing it and hearing about it. That's cool. Do they have a free version? Say yes. This is GPUs. Standard Echo. Okay. So yeah, I mean, oh wait, it's just this one 512 MB. So the one thing that you usually want to do is to be able to compare them and see which one has more of what you want. But yeah, thank you for sharing this. I'll definitely start looking into it. I prefer AWS as my cloud service provider. Depending on where you are building your solution, you want to choose somewhere that is closer to your audience. So let's assume we are building in Africa. We need probably Europe. Europe is the most closest, right, to Africa. So we go with that and create projects. Let's use recommended. Then we are using Nest.js. So just choose Nest.js and I want the .env. So I just have to copy this. Okay. I copy this and I come in here to replace this code. That's all. So I can delete all of these. Now I have a database set up. It's that simple. The database is set up. I can proceed to do the rest
Very,
of
very
my work.
simple. Wow.
This is where
God
the
bless
world has.
AI.
I know, right? Yeah. So now we've initialized these things. I want to squash the work that the AI did earlier. So instead of accepting, I'm rejecting everything. Then we would now ask it to do it again. Okay. So this is still like our basal one. And we are going to ask the AI to use. I just installed, and did we initialize it? We did, right? We did, but we are yet to create these things. And initialized Prisma. So add the relevant schema for us to start with. Okay. So once it has added, it's creating, no, it should be in there. So it will add the code to this file. When it's done, then you have to review it. If you like it, you accept it. So it says, I've added this, and you can see these are the code that it has added, right? So if I am okay with this, I go to accept all, then this has been accepted, the code has been added, the file has been created. If there is, then the next thing to do, it says make sure your PostgreSQL database set up and the database URL in your env file is correct. Okay. The next thing is run the following command to create and apply the migration. So we just have to run this. And when we created a database, remember we haven't done anything. We haven't added any tables. So you come here, you see the tables. We don't have any table right now, right? It's just the database name, staff scheduler. We don't have any tables. Let's run this. And it's going to create a migrations. When you say migrations, and the first time I learned about this migrations, I'm
Django.
like, oh, that wasn't even Django. My first time was Laravel. When I learned Laravel, that's when I first encountered it. I was like, huh, what is migration? Migration in code. Yeah, but essentially what migration does in Prisma is that it's going to take all the Prisma syntax. So please pay attention. We are defining the database structure just by writing them in this sort of objects. Okay, this is just unique to Prisma. Prisma says that don't worry yourself about learning how to write SQL because it's complex. So all you need to know is to do something like this. Tell me the field, the type of data that you'll be having, and some details about it. Once you are done with that, I'm going to generate the SQL file for you so that you can now run the SQL file. So that is what is happening here. If now we are done running the migration. So you see this file has been created and this directory has been created, and within that we have this file. So if we come to this side of our code, let me zoom into it for you to see. You see that we have a new directory called migrations, and in it we have this 2024, the timestamp, like this very time that we did it, underscore init. That was the name of the migration. So anytime you are creating a migration, you add the name to it. So this means that anytime we update our Prisma schema, we'll have to come and generate a new migration, and it will add to this. If we open that directory, we have migration.sql. That's the actual SQL command for all the Prisma things that we've written. So this was the Prisma things that we've written, and this is the SQL code for it. You need to hide this somewhere for you to see what's going on. Okay, so you can see it says create type role as enum, this, create type this. So these are the SQL commands that ideally you would have written if you were to create your database, your Postgres SQL commands that you should have written. But in order not to get into this, you are using an abstracted language that's more of the Prisma schema to do that. Okay.
Really
So
appreciating Django more. Honestly, Dr. Owen.
yeah, I mean, okay. Anyway, so now we have created a SQL file, but we've not run it. Our database still doesn't contain any table. So to run it, we need to run this Prisma generates. Prisma generates. So let's run this, and it will synchronize our migrations with our database. Okay. Wait, this migration. See, because you brought up Django is messing up in my head. Django, you make migrations, then you migrate. I
I
think
know, right?
Prisma, you don't do that. You don't migrate that, right? Anyway, I want to confirm something. The thought of Django just is confusing me right now. Anyway, let's run this. Prisma generates. What happened? Okay. Unknown command. Oh, you didn't copy everything. When you want to do so many things at a time, the screen is being blocked. Okay, let's run this. This is interesting. Should I miss? No. Anyway, let's keep going. If there is anything, I'll probably pick it up, but I think everything is going all right. So now we are done with our schema. We are done with our database setup. What's next? What did ChatGPT ask us to do? We need to create these things. So sometimes you have to decide how you want. Say, Aristo, if you use an online PostgreSQL, we don't need to run the migration command. Are you talking about using Django? I mean, it depends on the language and the flow for it. Okay. There are a couple of approaches to designing. You said Node.js. No, it depends on the specific database interface that you're using, like the ORM or ODM that you're using. In Django, you're using the Django specific one. But the others, depending on what you use, they all behave differently how you react to them. When you're building applications, some people choose to build their front end first before they get to the back end. Those of us who like back end, we decide to build a back end first before we get to the front end. And because the front end is hard for some of us, we end up with several backend projects that do not have front ends. Because when you start the front end, it will take forever to get them. Okay. So I mean, I've had projects like that where even right now, if I open my GitHub repo, I've built the entire API that all the functionality is there. I've added Swagger documentation, everything is there. But just to make time to go and build the front end and connect them, it's taking forever. Anyway, these AI tools will solve some of those problems. So you have to really think through whether you want to build a front end first or the back end first. When it comes to using Next.js, I've not really been the build a backend first guy. Mostly my backend would be Express.js. Let me build it, and now I'll think about what to use for my front end. But for the projects that I've done recently with Next.js, I'm always building. Like I start with a particular feature and I build the whole thing. So the front end together with the back end, everything. So maybe we'll use that approach here so that at least we all can appreciate what's happening. Ideally, you have to start thinking about authentication. How are you going to ensure that users who are logged in are the right people and things like that? So let's start from there. I know ChatGPT didn't talk about it, but we need to have that set up so that I can log in, log out, see myself and all. So let's build the authentication system for the platform using NestAuth for it. So yeah, go ahead and tell the AI to do the thing and let me relax and wait for it. My new job as a developer is to compose software. So this is how we compose. Do the work. It's like being a senior engineer and telling the engineers what to do. Guys, yeah.
It's
okay,
amazing.
go and write the authentication. Then you write the API. Then you write
Senior
the front
manager
end for
boss
this.
rule in one.
Yeah. I already see it's impossible to design front end before back end. Oh, it's very possible. I mean, that's why you always have to think through it. So imagine, like in practice, what really happens is starting from design. So you'd have to design the application, know exactly what it is required before you even start coding the front end. Then you can code the back end. So that's how it has been built in the past until now. everybody is a full stack engineer, so we want to do everything together. But yeah, it's very possible if you know exactly what is needed. And sometimes you, the back end, have to look at the user interface that has been built before you go ahead to write your own thing. Anyway, it's done writing the code. Before we accept it, there are a few installations that we need to do. So copy this and install these packages. And it says we should create a new file. Oh no, so it did it itself. Created a new file, update the Prisma schema to include the necessary fields for Nest Auth, then create the Prisma client, create a sign-in page, and update your EMV to include the Nest Auth, create a registration API route, create a registration page, update. Holy shit. This guy, I hope he didn't do that. So we are using app router. There's a difference between the app router and the page router for Nest.js. And now the recommended one is the app router. So sometimes you need to prompt the AI that you're using the app router, because the approach it has used here, the files it has created and things are not what you really want to use if you're using the app router. So what I'm going to do now is to reject all of what it has done and say, for this project, we are using the app router. Hence, all naming conventions should follow such. Now, let's start with building the authentication system. Okay, so some of these things, if you don't know them, it becomes difficult. Like the AI is spitting out things for you and you are just copying and pasting, and you run into several issues, sometimes even issues that are very difficult to solve. But if you know it, at least you're able to spot that this is not what I want. So this is like, as I said, you being a senior engineer and having some juniors at your service, and you're telling them what to do and guiding them. Okay, you build me this, build me that, you do this. Then they bring it to you, you have to review, because you are the supervisor, you have to review and comment on it and make sure that everything is right before you accept it. So the juniors brought it and I said no to all of them. They should go and start from scratch. And now let's see what they have brought. Say, okay, I apologize for the confusion. Oh, these juniors are very respectful. You're right. We should be using the app router for this project. Let's start building the authentication using the app router structure and Nest Auth. We will need to make some adjustment to our approach. So we install the packages, create Nest Auth configuration, update the Prisma schema, create a client, create a sign-in page, create a registration API, create a registration page, update the layouts. Okay, good. Now at least it's speaking sense. So before we accept it, ideally you go through it to make sure that it didn't change anything. Okay, so this layout is for, let me try and explain what's happening here. Okay. Oh shit, did they create this thing? So this was the wrong one. Why was it left here? We should delete this. So if you are using the page router, then you would have a directory called pages. But we are not using that. We are using the app router. So by default, when you install it, I should have walked you guys through the folder structure. But by default, when you install it, no, wait. This guy is messing the whole thing up. Let me reject it first.
So
It
the
shouldn't.
main,
Go ahead.
so the main thing is for us, we have to, the thing is you have to even know what you're doing for you to
Yeah.
even be able to give this AI
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you're doing, then you're just going to mess it all up.
I agree. I think one of the issues is that I should, here I'm chatting with this file, the todo.md, and the todo.md is outside here, right? Ideally, it is now not aware that there is an SRC directory here. So I should have pointed that out, that, hey, you are the senior engineer. You didn't tell the juniors the right thing to do. What they know is what they went to do. So you are to be blamed. This is what is happening right now. Okay, so let's fix the problem. By default, these were the directories that we had. This is also not supposed to be here. I'm trying to delete all the unnecessary ones that we created and clean it up. Okay, good. So by default, we have our SRC directory, and inside SRC, we have the app directory. When you are using the app router, that's what you do. Then every single page will be, so let me try and explain this better for those who are new to Nest.js. When we say you are using the app router, okay, you come in, we have this as our SRC directory. I like SRC directory. Some people don't use it, but you come into the SRC directory, then you have your app directory within it. There are other directories as well, but our focus is the app directory. Then inside the app directory, there are two files that you need to pay attention to right now. One is called the page. Why is this so small? I've zoomed out of it. Oh no. All right. Goodness. Okay. So one is the page.css, and it's TSS because we are using TypeScript. If you are using just plain JavaScript, it will be JSX. Okay. So we need to pay attention to this file and the layout.tss. The layout.tss will wrap every other thing in the project, every other file that you create in the project. If you want to create, let's say, /login, what you would have to create is you create a directory called login. So you create, within this, you create a directory. Maybe I should just use the text to indicate that. You create a directory called login. Then within that directory, you create page.tsx. So that's how Nest.js knows that you are creating a route. Nest.js creates that you are creating a route, knows that you are creating a route when you have a directory that contains page.tsx in there. That's how it knows. So if I want to create, if somebody goes to my website, let's say staffscheduler.com/register, what it means is that in my application, I should have register as a directory within my app directory, then /page.tsx. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But sometimes, because this layer wraps around all of them, sometimes you want to segregate things, because the interface that I'm going to design, let's say the portal that I'm going to have or the dashboard that I'm going to have, will have a sidebar, will have a top bar, like all of those things, which I do not want on my landing page or some of the public pages, or even the authentication pages, the login page, the register page. I don't want those ones. So in that case, we'd have to group some of these routes, to group routes such that they do not become part of the URL. I can use this symbol, the parentheses. So I could do auth/register/page.tss. You don't want to have these two here because there will be a conflict in your routing. But because I have put this in parentheses, when you are writing the URL, you don't need to put auth there. If I didn't add the parentheses and I left it as this, it means that when you're writing a URL, it has to be staffscheduler.com/auth/register/page. The page.tss will not come. but this will be your route. So that's how App Router works. But I usually do not want the auth part to show, so I prefer it this way. Then I'll go and create, say, portal, and I'll do that. Will also look like that. Then I'll have dashboard slash page.tss. Okay. Then most times too, I'll add a third one that is public for all my public ones. And maybe the public one, let's say contact us. So I say contact slash page.tss. This will be some sort of routing for me. So in this case, I can create a specific layout for just the portal. The portal can have its own layout, which is different from the authentication pages, their layout. And that's also different from the layout for the public pages. So by grouping routes, you are able to create individual layouts for them. Otherwise, the parent layout here will have encompass all of them. So for me, I don't add styling to the parent's layout. I would add my stylings to the layout that will be here. So in this alt/register, when I create the directory that I call alt, this directory, I'll create it with that parenthesis around it, right? Then in that directory, where is this thing? In that directory, I'll create layout.tss. And that means this layout file, whatever style that I do in here, is only limited to all the files that will be created in alt. And I can come and create a layout file in portal. I can create a layout file in public. I can also end up creating, maybe the portal, I want something that is different for my own use, like the administrators or the owners of the platform, management-wise. We want to create another route grouping. You can do that. Okay, so let's get back to our code and now configure this guy too.
So now with this setup now, what's URL with the register page, and like will it not be /alt/register right again?
If you put the parentheses around it, then it ignores these ones. So it will be straight /register/page. I mean, page will not come.
So
/register.
I just yeah, sure. I just want to but the other one too, having to show alt/register is also normal. Is it also like a good?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. That's just.
I mean, you can use all of them. You can use all of them.
Okay,
like,
yes, because I have projects I've worked on.
Yeah.
And I did alt/register and alt/.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Like everyone and what they prefer, right? I prefer to simplify it for the users.
Yeah,
but sometimes,
and I like.
Sometimes you may want to have like different register pages for different purposes. Okay, in that case, let's say we have admin/register, then we have user/register. In that case, it makes sense not to make them this way, not to group them this way, because if let me illustrate this. If I have, say, admin/user/register dot did I just say dot? Okay, let's assume that we are building a system and we will have a specific page for admins to log in or register. Then we have another for users. Okay, this will make more sense to use than grouping them like how I did. So if I put the parentheses here on both of them, what we are going to end up having is a clash between them because they will end up with the same. I don't know if you guys understand. Let's assume that my domain is say obed.com. If my domain is obed.com, what is happening right now is that both of these pages are fighting for the /register because it actually ignores this because you put it in the parentheses.
Yes.
So obed.com/register, Next.js becomes confused. Which of these routes do I serve? I actually haven't tried it before and see if it's going to either crash or actually prefer one over the other. Maybe it's going to show the first one that appears all the time. So you should just know that this is not the right thing to do in this case. So in this case, maybe I would leave this as admin, then I would leave this as that. So if you go to obed.com/register, then it will take you to the user registration page. But if you go to obed.com/admin/register, then it takes you to the admin register page. So you should just understand what you are doing. If I now take off this parentheses, then it means to get to this page, it has to be obed.com/user/register. I hope that is helpful.
Yeah, that really helps. Yes.
All right. So now that we
Thanks.
understand the app routing, let's come and prompt our AI colleague or junior staff to do. Oh no. How do I drag this thing?
So as me, you don't know all this. How do you use the AI? Be there.
Yeah.
Cosby, that's the deal.
I mean, I trust that over time it's still going to get better and better and be able to figure out some of the things out. But you know, every tool that you have out there, the hammer does not get up by itself to hit the nail, right? Like there has to be someone who knows how to hit the nail with the hammer. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a carpenter to be able to hit the nail with a hammer, but then if a carpenter is doing it, you'd see the difference. And if you end up hitting your nail, I mean, the nail, your fingers, crashing them, you learn the lesson from it, right? Like, so that's what is going to happen. At the end of the day, you really want to, if this is something you want to do, now it's easier. Like, it's easier for you to learn to become an engineer by learning these things and using the tools to assist you to figure out things. It's relatively easier. So if you just make an assumption that, oh, now it's everybody can build software, so I can just go in and build software without learning, then I
Go
don't
and
know.
build.
Say go and build. Yeah. So let's get to this guy. And one of the things I would have preferred to do is we'll give it the folder. So to inform it about the folder, we have the SRC directory. So use that, use the app directory within it and set up the authentication. So one of the things that you could probably do is start with just the UI part of the auth, then later go to the backend as well. But I'm just saying you should set it up because we are far behind time right now. Set up the authentication using Nest Auth. Then to make sure that it has access to the directory, we'll use the @ symbol and choose folders. Then which folder are we going to give it? I hope this guy knows where we are. This one that you can't even see. Okay. So let's give it this app directory so that at least it knows the directory is supposed to work in. Okay. So now let's hit enter and see what it does. I hope this time around it gets it right. Apologize for the confusion. Let's set up the authentication system. We will create the necessary files and configurations. So hopefully this time around, it doesn't go to create its own thing. I can see that it has already started creating something in here. Okay. Let's wait for it. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. It's because of your questions and discussions. That's why we are doing live stream. Okay. So it's done. It has set these up, but we can see that there is some error here. Prisma, it cannot find this. Okay, is it in there? Did it create that? So there is nothing like that in here. So why is it referring to it? Anyway, now let's proceed to accept it. What you can equally do is come here and copy some of the errors that is facing, and it looks like it's the same thing on them. Let's fix this one first because it's the major one. So you can tell it to fix this. I mean, I just gave it the error. I didn't even say it. It seems the linter is reporting an error because it can't find this. So now it's creating that particular file. That's created it, but we still have errors. Says now let's update the import statement here. Let's confirm this is there. Okay, let's accept it. Yeah. After we have accepted it, that error is gone, but this particular one has, where is the error coming from? I guess, oh, okay. But it doesn't have this error. Okay, good. That error doesn't exist. My terminal is probably caching an error that doesn't exist somewhere because this file doesn't even exist. Okay. The next thing is property row does not exist on this. So we can give this one to it as well. I just hope it's not because I've not run. There's one command that it gave us that I've not run it, the migration. So we've made changes to the database schema. It has added some things to it and we would need to migrate that as well, but we have not done that. However, let's see if this is a legitimate error. I mean, if you're playing with this and you don't know most of them, that's what you're going to be doing. Okay. Here it says next auth is defined by never use. Let's see if that error gets fixed. Where is next auth defined but not used? Did they actually need next auth from here? Anyway, so you can accept this. The next thing you do, copy this error, give it to it. Sometimes it's smart, sometimes too. Why are you
Create
guys bashing
models.
the Django developers? What did they do? Where did this new error to come from? Okay. So there are a couple of other errors here. What sometimes I'll do is just copy the message instead of copying the whole thing. And TypeScripts don't use any as type and also don't allow implicit use of any. So that at least I know that the I know that our system is safeguarded. Otherwise, it will dodge most of the types and just use any for them. Sometimes the AI wants to be lazy. Some lazy junior developer who doesn't want to do anything. Okay, so hopefully, let me go and copy this. Then we'll take a look at the code that we have. Yeah, this command. We solve one problem and bring in another problem. That's cool. Is that not what we do as developers? So we'll come back and fix this, but for now, we'll come back and fix it. Let's confirm that everything else is working. Go to the terminal. Is our server running? I think it was running. So the pages directory, now let's see what it has here. Created the API route. It has created auth. So you will see that in this case, the alt is not in the parentheses, as I said. So if we go to our screen, where were we? Here. Oh, come on. That is bad. Anyway, so we'll copy this error for our good friend to take a stab at that. Say go. Hope this would be available on YouTube. Yeah. It's available on YouTube. I've even forgotten about those who are watching on YouTube. Oh my. Please go ahead. Ask your question. Ooh, what is happening? Can't even see.
Uh, Please, do you navigate to a particular directory
Mm-hmm.
before you ask the AI question of the problem you want to solve? Or you can just directly ask, maybe in your question, you can just direct the AI to a particular directory. Okay, just do this for me there and there.
Yeah. You can navigate to any directory that you want. You can actually also add specific files. So that you can do and tell it to focus on just that file. Like anything, it depends on what you are telling it to do. Because right now I'm allowing it to do everything by itself, right? Because I mean we are doing the AI stuff, that's why. But otherwise, I would have to be vigilant and make sure that I'm really in control of what is going on and what is happening, which file is being updated. Because you can't just go and give it any code base, and by the time you realize I was going to change something that I was not supposed to change. Okay. So what I wanted to show you is the screen that it has designed. It called it alt. So alt, then register. That's how I called it. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, AI. Is that the design AI came up with? Wait, I don't think our CSS is working. Let's check our layouts. Did they import CSS? They imported it. Hey, wait, let's go and view the page. Is it I didn't add any tailwind to it or what? Why would this guy do that? There's no styling. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Are,
okay.
are you serious? Okay, anyway, so that's where the fun side begins. Now we
Yeah.
can select the specific file, and let's say we go to alt/register, then page, as you can see here, and say style the alt, and let's add a sign-in page to sign-in pages to look very professional with nice color schemes. Let's just try that. Let me see. Oh, I didn't add the. I should have added a sign in page, but it knows it, so you should go and look for it as well. I hope it didn't create a new file. Okay, so this is what I told you guys. Within the alt itself, it has created a layout file so that it can use that layout for both the sign in and the register. So let's see. What's the error in the sign-in page? Ooh, but as I told you, I prefer not to have this alt as part of my URL, so I would end up fixing it. What's wrong with the sign-in page? What did you do? Oh, okay. So let's accept it. And this, instead of using that, you can use it for TypeScript. So you do the HTML entity, and that fixes that issue. So now this is what staff scheduler register screen looks like. I mean, because I said nice color scheme, this guy had to go and use plenty color.
Crazy.
I usually don't like
Dr. Obe,
this
please, I
type
want
of color. Yeah.
This is really great.
I just want to know, are we using Cursor AI or a VS Code with Amazon Q extension?
No,
Because
no,
I
this
hear
is
some.
Kesa. Yeah, this
Okay,
is Kesa.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank
You're welcome. And I've seen someone asking on YouTube whether Kesa is free. So as I said, it has a free version, but then it doesn't give you all of these functionalities, or there's limitations as to the number of queries you can make in a month. But the first 2 weeks that you use it, you get the pro for a test. So make sure you know how to use it. And when you are using it for the first 2 weeks, at least build something tangible that you would be proud of. And then you decide whether you want to buy or not. That's the essence of free trial. Try it and know if it is worth it, then you pay for it. If not, I mean, I've shown you there are other ones as well that can help with that. So if you have Amazon Q, there are a lot of others. I think I did a video when Amazon Q developer was released. I did a YouTube video. And in the comments of the video, someone mentioned some others that I didn't know about. And I checked them out and they were really cool. So there are a lot of options that you can try. And if you want, instead of doing these things here, you could actually copy it and send it to the either ChatGPT or I mean, let me show you something. Like I could just copy this and go to ChatGPT and say, uh, I don't like this code for my login. Can we make it more professional? And usually, what I like the role play part, I would say, and make it look as if it was designed by then maybe I say the engineers from Apple. I mean, if you like the designs that Apple does, then let's see what ChatGPT will be able to do. But we could have equally told this other guy, Kesa AI. The other thing that I would preferably have done is actually to go to VO to go and give VO to do that work for us. That's what I most often would do. So don't worry, I'll show you the next screen will probably design with Vue. Let's bring this back here and see what our sign-in page will look like after this. Oh, ChatGPT. This background thing I didn't like. But anyway, this is what ChatGPT also gave us. Do you like this over the previous one? The previous one looked something like this. Okay, let's try Vue. Let's try Vue with the same code. No, let me try this. The same code that we gave this thing that we gave ChatGPT. Okay, we copy the same thing and go to Vue. Moment of truth. And let's see what Vue is able to do.
So is this the way to use Vue? Just take your code and paste there and
Oh no, there's a prompt here. Oh. Remember, I went to copy what I gave to ChatGPT. So there's a prompt here.
okay, I don't like.
Yeah. Anyway, what I would usually do with Vue is to describe in great detail what I want. Right? Great detail, like everything. See, now it's cool, but hey, this is still could have been better. Like, where's the logo? All of that. Like, where's the name of the company? So ideally, instead of just giving it code, I'd say, okay, probably forget about the code I gave you. Design an enterprise grade login screen for a cutting edge tech company that is about to launch or about to launch. I'm looking for an adjective. I want to launch a new platform called Staff Scheduler. The design should be top notch and have nice animations and subtle pattern in the background. Okay, at least let me stop here. Yeah, like I would prefer to even give it the color palette to use and all those nitty-gritties. Okay. The other thing you can do is you go to Figma or go to any of the online sites and get an inspiration that, oh, this is the form that or the interface that you want to design, bring it and say, oh, give me something similar to this. But let's see
Like,
what he's able to come up with. Yeah.
so basically, I don't know. I want to me. I use wow. This is good. I
What the hell?
I use a server side. Like I try as much as possible to make my login page and sign up page a server side. Like it renders as a server.
Mhm.
So like so having to edit all this, so you can also give that prompt to edit and make it also like to make it a server component.
I mean, if it is VO, it can do it, but mostly I like VO to do anyways, trained on React, so it should be able to do it. For as long as it's React, it should be able to do it. It's
Okay.
just that it focuses more on the front end stuff, so it doesn't bother itself with any of the back end related stuff. Yeah, but outside of that, hey, last 2 or 3 days ago, I discovered a new one that's more like a competitor to Vue. Maybe we'll talk about it during the
Oh,
next
yeah, now.
stream.
Hit me.
Oh no, I mean I'm happy to always share, but
Please let's
I
talk
don't want
about
to
that.
overwhelm.
Because
I don't want to overwhelm the audience. So we'll get there. I probably don't even remember it off head right now. So we'll
Yeah,
get to
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
So hey, I mean, let's not sweat the design. You can always come back to refine. That one thing I like about back end developers is that they don't care about the front end. Like you see the initial one that Kesa gave us. That's the work of a back end developer. I'm sure the person that wrote Kesa is a back end developer. Yeah. Anyway, so this works fine. Let's keep going. What else will we want? Oh, we didn't run the migrations. Do we still have errors to fix? There's still errors. I wanted to make sure we fixed all the errors and we don't have any changes to the database by the time we do it. But it doesn't matter. I think we should be able to. Let's run this. It fixes it, then we are good. What we'll do is we'll pause the stream and I'll not touch the project. Hopefully, if my compulsive order doesn't come to go and work on the projects before you guys join the next stream. But anyway, so I'll try and hang on to it until the next session. Then we'll continue. But at least if we can get the authentication system working, I think that would be great.
Sure.
Yeah. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. I would like to go in and change this thing. Okay, so now we fixed all the problems. Good, 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 good. We have to go and trace that migration that you wanted. Anyway, you don't have to because I could literally run the command nps prisma migrate. And for me, I usually prefer adding my own script to the package.json. So I'll come to package.json so that instead of every time writing this command, I'll probably add a script for migrate. Then we'll call it migrate, then that would be, no, you need to add the nps as well, because that's the actual command, nps migrate. So now if I save this, I do not have to type all this. I need to just say npm run migrate. Then it will ask me for the name of the migration. Oh, can't reach database. You know, this thing happened to me the last time. I don't know if Neon sometimes have issues, but we'll run it again. Hope it doesn't have any issues. So ideally, you should ask us for the name of the migration that we want. Ooh, I hope our database is still alive. Yeah, still alive. These are the migrations. Yeah. So what's happening? Okay, name. Let's say add auth service. On YouTube, someone is asking, what languages are you making use of? My favorite language nowadays is JavaScript. So JavaScript in general, but then I'm using the stack we are using is Nest.js with Prisma, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, Nest Auth, and what Shad.cn UI component. Okay, so now we've migrated this thing. Let's test out our registration screen. We didn't redesign the registration screen, right? Oh, we did. We did, but even the one that it gave us, we still don't like it like that. Okay. So my name is Obed. My email to use is this. Password, let's do 123. We've not done any. Then, oh, am I joining as a staff or manager? Let's say manager, register. Ooh, it did just register me. Did it just register me? Hey, I don't remember the password. Did I say 123?
123.
Oh, we've logged in. So let's go to our database and look for users. So refresh this. Then we want to confirm if the details we provided is in here. And here you are. You can see Obedewania, blah, blah, blah. Good.
Amazing.
See, I didn't even tell it about hashing a password, but it did that already. It hashed the
Wow.
password.
Mm.
That's good.
Mm.
So now we have our authentication system. We can prompt it to add password changes, log out, and all of that, right? So let me go and prompt it. One thing that I like to do.
Forgot
Say
Google
add,
authentication.
yeah, oh, but anyway, for now, add password resets, and let me give it a lot of work. Will probably be then implement dark mode with shard cn component. And what else will I want? Create profile setting page. Let's see what it comes up with. It's fun nowadays when you are doing some of these things. I'm telling the AI to do stuff for you. when AI starts suffering the TypeScript challenge, then that's when it becomes more frustrating. See, there was just a couple of days ago, I got this. There's a
Wow.
project we are working on, and I started working on it in the night with Kesa, and everything was going well. So I didn't want to sleep. It was going well, going well, going well, going well. Then around 2 a.m., I was still awake and so tired. And now I started hitting TypeScript errors. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
I did over and over and over and over. It wasn't working. I had to leave and go and sleep. I'm sure if it kept working, I'll probably not have slept that night.
It would have been fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, TypeScript can really can really do a lot.
yeah, TypeScript is
A lot of
usually
type
the
zero
biggest
and all of
problem.
that.
Oh, guys, we need to close the session. We've been on for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, we have to close the session as soon as possible. I haven't even eaten yet today. See, this error. Anyway, let's go and see what other pages did they create. So instead of routes, let's look at, oh yeah, it created forgot password. Why is it? Oh, okay, but it didn't use the router. Says model not found. We've not installed the component, so we need to install these models. Okay. Oh shit. This thing keeps messing this out. It's not shard cn UI, it's shard cn.
Talk to me then that is just
I mean, I can do that, but let me hurry up and run away. Button. I think VO Vessel probably is doing a collaboration with Shatsian. So if you go to their code base, you'd realize that they use components from Shatsian. So if you even copy the code, you see nps Shatsian add, then it gives you the link to view. So that's why when you're using SJS, this is quite seamless to use that one.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one was, oh, okay, we have all of that. Did they solve the issue? Which model is still not known? Oh, next teams. Yeah, so I think let's go to Shatsian. There's something that we need to pick from. So you search for dark mode and see the installation process. Next.js, you need to install Next Teams. So run this. Some of these things, if you know it, it makes you faster than doing back and forth with the AI. What is not team provider? There's no components like that. Hey, this guy, what is he doing? So the other thing that you can do is you go to this particular place, copy the doc. If you are a lazy developer, copy the doc and say, here is the docs for shard cn
Wow.
dark mode.
This is a skill.
Help fix the problem with dark mode.
My God.
And then you allow it to think through that. And this is like, I mean, as I'm saying, you think of it as you have a developer friend of yours or a junior developer you're guiding, right? So if you came to me, frankly, you want to develop something and you've gone and you've made this mistake, I'm like, hey, RF what? RFTM. I'll show you the way to the doc. Yeah. Anyway.
So I want to ask for a beginner dev, would you like recommend like this approach to building? Or you should build like having to build like you should learn along the way what the errors are. Because I had a space recently and the like developers were giving each other back to back eating on like a developer that see the errors and solve it himself, try to than someone using AI and all of that. One guy is doing everything for money. He may like he's doing it for he wants to learn to become a developer and all of that. So what approach would you advise this approach for a beginner dev?
So the point I keep making is what would be your reason for doing what you're doing, right? If I build this, like right now that I'm doing and I'm not reading the code, if you put me on another project and you say I should build it, do I really know it? Will I still have to go through this whole process again? And you see, sometimes I needed to go outside and get data. Imagine I didn't know it and I was just feeding the AI back and forth until every problem is solved. Will I be able to do it again? If no, then you know that that's not the approach you want to go with. Why is this a problem? So you see, this is a problem that I've never felt experienced before. So the way I'm saying this thing is, it should be what your interest is. If my goal is to ship fast, hey, I don't care using the AI to solve all the problems. For as long as the problems are solved and my product is working, right? But if my goal is to learn something new, like I'm trying a new technology out, I want to learn, I definitely won't use this approach. Like the AI will have to spend time. In that case, I don't act as I'm the senior engineer. The AI is the senior engineer who is guiding me. So my back and forth with him is trying to understand, why is this that? Why that? Why didn't this happen? Why did this happen? So it's totally up to you. If you're a beginner developer and your primary goal there is to learn, then use it to learn. If your primary goal is to use it to build something as fast as you can try it. But then I always say that make sure the code that you are pushing, you own the code. Even if it was generated by AI, if I ask you to explain any of the code that we have written right now, will you be able to explain it to me? That's what is more important to me than any other thing.
Yeah,
What is happening?
that's
What is this? It's something I've never experienced before. A required style import is forbidden. So let me pick it from here. One of the things that, I mean, if you're using VS Code or anything, you can go to the documentation itself. So if I do control and dots and say show documentation for this, open, it takes me to that part of the documentation that talks about disallow invocation of this. So make me appreciate the error, how to correct it, and all of it. So if I really want to learn, this is what I'll be doing and not letting the AI do everything for me. If I don't want to learn and I want to fast, I come here and I copy the thing for AI. Like, okay, AI, you don't know what to do. Now I've brought you what to do. Read the doc and what fix the problem.
copying all of the whole web.
You are not the AI.
I know, right?
Yeah, anyway, so those are some of the things. And as I'm
Doc,
saying,
it's true. It's true. What you said is true. What you said is true about using the AI to suit your preference. Like, if you are using it to learn, use it to learn. If you want to use it to shape fast, use it to shape fast. If you want to use it to be in the middle and be on the sea, you can use it to be on the sea. Like,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so now the problem is faced. All he needed was the documentation. But if you don't know how to access the documentation, that's a problem. You see, so all of these things are the skills that you need to acquire. And as I'm saying, eventually, like right now, if I'm hiring a developer and you say, oh, as for me, I don't know how to use VS Code. I don't know how to use any terminal. I write my code in Word, Microsoft Word. Like, well, you know, like it doesn't sound right. So hopefully, like this is my intuition about these things. In the near future, it's going to be that when we're writing the code, we use these tools. Right? These are tools. So you can't come to me and say, as for me, I'm a developer, but I don't know how to use ChatGPT to code. I don't know how to use Cursor AI to code. I've never used we'll be looking for people who have 10 years experience in this, and you say, oh, I just started learning how to code. Yeah. So it's good that we start right now, so that eventually when the time is due, at least we know how to do this. Guys, let me pause here, answer any
Sure.
questions that you have, then we'll continue next. Say no be small adjectives. When you are telling the AI to do nice things, you have to give it the descriptive adjectives that will make it design great things. You know,
But
recent,
Abba,
there's this project we are working on, and it's called App Eval. Oh no, it's not .com, it's .co.co. So the landing page, this landing page, I did it in like a couple of minutes. Couple of minutes. And it's all view created, right? And obviously I have to do some 1 or 2 touches, but hey, this was done very responsive. I mean, very, very responsive. So that tells you in the next couple of years, if someone is looking to employ a developer and say, I don't know how to code, this thing works. Like I can pop my thing in here, it works. I pop details in here, and all of these were done in a couple of minutes. So that is where we are right now, and we have to embrace that. Let me stop sharing my screen. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Otherwise, we end the stream today. Hopefully next Saturday, I'll try and do another stream, but I would announce in the course of the week, because the following week I have like a busy schedule. In the month of November, I have lectures and assignments to submit, and also not sure if I'll be able to show up every Saturday, but yeah, looking forward to showing up next Saturday for another stream. And if by then I haven't finished building the staff scheduling application, we'll continue. But if I have finished building it too,
you will not
we'll see
finish.
what we'll do.
You'll be busy.
Okay. Yeah, John. Hi, John.
Fine. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Fine. I was actually following and I was like wondering if it is possible to use this kind of approach to develop the front end with Django project. Like it make life very, very easy.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able to do it. You know, even with Django, you can use Django REST framework to build your API. Then you use React to build your front end. Then you connect the two. It's possible. That's very possible. Okay, so you don't have to get stuck in the Django templating language. I mean, for me, I don't think it's flexible for UI design like that. So I don't like it like that. So I would decouple it and use Django REST framework to build the API. Then I'll use the front end. Even with Next.js, because Next.js makes routing and SEO optimization easier. Even React now recommends that use Next.js. So I'll use Next.js to build my front end. Then I'll use whatever framework I want to build a backend. So you can use Laravel to build your backend. You can use Express.js. You can use Django, whatever you prefer to build it. So that's also possible.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Says, do you have UI UX for it, or you just designed it? L for U Tech. I'm guessing you're referring to the landing page I showed. We didn't do any UI UX. I mean, we have a UI UX designer, but then we needed something for a particular application we're doing. So we had to code it that very night. And obviously, if you have just one night to finish this thing, you are now thinking about, let me go and design the screens before I come and do it. So
Wow.
we just went ahead to use the AI to help us build the landing page. Then we forwarded it to our UI UX designer. He has a couple of comments on how we can improve it even better. So we are going to have to go back to it and refine it. But yeah, that's how life has become easy for some of us. If you live in this day and age, beware that posterity will judge you. This is not even posterity. This is those who have lived on. When you read the scriptures, I've forgotten the specific scripture, but it talks about we are surrounded by a large cloud of witnesses. And I always think about this, that all those people who have passed on, seeing these things that are happening. Imagine they are hanging out there and seeing all of these opportunities. Your great grandparents looking at you and say, hey, how I wish I was in his time. You have all these opportunities and you're not making use of them. You're wasting your time. So those people will judge you. So the earlier you start making good use of it, the better. I mean, these opportunities are there. However, as John Obidi will say, you have to milk the lifetime of the opportunity in the lifetime of the opportunity. Right. It's not going to be there forever. Don't think that these things will be there forever. Things will change. A lot of other things will come. But eventually, the people who are going to be successful in the next 3 decades are the people who are really putting in the effort right now. Think about it. Like when the mobile revolution became a thing, the people who doubled down on it made a lot of money, and now they are the billionaires that we look up to. And fortunately for us, now the information is abundant because of the internet. It didn't used to be the case. So now you get, I joined the stream today and I said, oh, Next.js released a new version 2 or 3 days ago. Those times it has taken us forever to even get such news, right? By the time you start learning, and trust me, when I started learning Laravel, I was learning Laravel 7, not knowing that Laravel 8 had already been released. I finished learning Laravel 7, not like finished, but then I learned it and started working, and I realized, oh, I have to learn Laravel 8. By then I realized, oh, Laravel 9. And those times I wasn't in tune with the ecosystem, so I didn't know where to find what. But now the information is abundant, except that you need to position yourself right to get the information. And also these opportunities, as I'm saying, not everyone has it. You are here on this stream, you've seen all of these wonderful things. You get to play with some of these tools. So I would urge you all to make good use of it. I mean, see them as just toys that you're playing with. Go back to your childhood days and hey, how you used to have fun and play with toys. I know nowadays you can't just laugh at life, but hey, let's feel free to laugh at ourselves, play with these kids, learn from it, learn new stuff, try new things. You don't have to restrict yourself and say, oh, as for me, I'm just a pharmacist, so I'm looking for a tool that is for pharmacy. Or as for me, I'm just a software developer, so I'm looking for no, like it's a tool, for crying out loud. If you can learn how to use it, nobody is stopping you. Learn how to use it, play with it, build anything that you want. And hey, you never know what surprises can come out of it or what products you end up building. Thank you all so much for taking your time out on a busy Saturday like this to spend it with me. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. And I'm grateful that you were able to make this time. We've been on the stream for more than 3 hours. And hey, thank you. Hopefully, we get to meet next week, Saturday. Next Saturday. Yeah. Those of you who have already signed up via email, as usual, before any stream, the night before, I'll try my best to drop you an email to invite you. Then those of you who are on the WhatsApp group, hey, as we do it, I'll drop
Yeah.
the link in the WhatsApp chat. And I saw somebody was asking if there is something like that, social groups. Yeah, so I don't share these publicly because I have PTSD from some people rushing into a Zoom session like that and doing some nasty things in there. So if you are interested in joining any of the future sessions, especially those who will just come across the YouTube video, just reach out to me on X and I'll send you the link. Thank you all. And say, can we have the WhatsApp group link here?
No.
Let me see. Let me stop the live stream first, then I can find it for you. The rest